Hello friends, 9th March 2024 was a very special day for me. I went on a 6-day trip with 16 women from the WOW Club, Women on Wanderlust Club, to a very interesting place, Bhutan. So let me tell you a little bit about how and why I chose Bhutan. First of all, a long back I realized that this is one country which is the only carbon neutral country in the world. So I wanted to see it, and the mystery and the myth surrounding Bhutan made me always wonder to explore this country. And let me tell you, Bhutan did not let me down. So let's start from the beginning. There are some interesting fun facts I wanted to share about Bhutan which you cannot miss if you observe carefully. So as I told you, the first thing is the capital of Bhutan is Thimphu, but the airport is at Paro. So we landed at Paro from Kolkata. It took us 1 hour, and then we went on to from Paro we took a bus, picked us up, and we went to Thimphu, which is 2 hours drive. So do you know that chili is the most favorite vegetable, I would say, in Bhutan, right? So everyone has chilies in there along with their meal, and they dry red chilies. They dry it and use it in every product. If you have to ask anyone what is the one vegetable all the Bhutanese have, that would be chili. Most of the fruits and vegetables they dry and then use it during the winter month. A second most interesting thing is the buildings. Every building, everything in Bhutan, every structure, building, whether it's a private building or a public building, a government office, etc., it looks same. It is painted with the same colors. They are approved by the government. Every design is approved by the government. The windows and the doors are all of same color. They have different colors which are natural dye products. So the whole country looks so similar and so picturesque, so beautiful because of the similarity of the color scheme. Then I did not know that Bhutan was the last country in the world to introduce television. So they introduced television in 1998. And for that matter, Bhutan was open to the world only in 1970. Before that, visitors were not allowed. Okay, let me move on. When we talk about Buddhism, we have in our mind Gautam Buddha. Yes. So in Bhutan, their most favorite or their most favored form of idol worship when they do in Buddhism is they worship Lotus Buddha. Actually, Lotus Buddha is not Gautam Buddha. He is the second Buddha who brought Buddhism to Bhutan, Nepal, and Tibet. So in these countries, more than Gautam Buddha's iconic structure, you will find Lotus Buddha being worshipped. Also, Bhutan is the only country where sale of tobacco is banned. And another interesting thing is Bhutan doesn't have any traffic lights. They have only traffic cops, and they very rhythmically with the movement of hand controls the traffic. So we all know that Bhutan translates into the land of thunder dragon. Actually, the country is known by another name called Druk. Druk means dragon. So the first day when we landed, our first destination was an iron chain bridge, which was 100-year-old. It's a 100 iron chain bridge, which was a 15th century bridge. On the second day, we went to a very old ancient temple called Changkha Lakhang, 11-headed, 1,000-arm manifestation of the central statue of Buddha. So this particular temple is very special for the people who come here, especially for the children. They come here for the naming ceremony when a child is born, and the temple was full of children. So it is a 30-minute kind of a hike, a very simple walk, a little elevated road. So we reached that. We did visit the temple and did the prayer wheel, and then our guide enlightened us about a little bit about the caste system, about the system in Bhutan. So according to him, there are no religion, no caste, nothing in Bhutan. How beautiful it is. The language they speak is called Dzongkha, which is. Our next stop was the Buddha Point. It's a 51.5 meter tall Buddha statue. It is a must visit tourist destination if you are in Thimphu, one of the largest Buddha statues which can be seen from everywhere in Thimphu, wherever you go. And the Bodh Gaya, the great Buddha, is called as Daibutsu, which he's actually a bodhisattva. So they don't worship Gautam Buddha, they worship the bodhisattvas. So yes, the temple has the Buddha Point has a lot of empty space around, beautifully made on a height. They have beautiful cafes. Day 3 started from our travel from Thimphu to Punakha. While going towards Punakha, we stopped at the picturesque Dochula Pass, which was made in 2003. It's a group of 108 stupas made by the Queen to commemorate the victory among the Alpha and the Bodo separatists. They had a fight with them and they won the war. That's why to commemorate that, these 108 stupas were made on a height. It's a beautiful at 3,150 meters height, and beautiful sight of the mountains we can see on a clear day from the Dochula Pass. Our next stop was a very interesting place. It is called the Temple of the Fertility Temple, Chimi-Lakhang. So this place we reached after a trek, and Bhutan's favorite place for fertility. People who don't have children, they come here and pray, and they are endowed with kids. So we found a very beautiful big album where people have posted that they were blessed with children after they visited the temple. So this temple is quite famous among from all across the world, and the beauty of the temple is we had to pass through a village where the whole village has symbol of the phallus, the PHALLUS. So they consider this as a symbol of purity, as a symbol of fertility, and they actually worship the phallus. So we kind of found it a bit odd, but then looking around everywhere, even in our hotel, even everywhere as souvenir, they were selling the phallus. And even in the temple, the priest would bless us with a wooden phallus on our head. So yes, something interesting and something which must be visited. And then our view of so many things change when we look at it differently from the religious and the spiritual angle. So yes, post that we came back to the hotel, and our day 3 ended with that. So let me also give you another tip about Bhutan. which is something very interesting, that Bhutan was never colonized, right? The only country that's been never colonized by any colonial power, and they remained free, and they consider it as a big event, like even the biggest of world powers could not, because of their tactics by which they save this small place from the powers. And yes, there are two types. There's a religious king and there is a political king. We have the fifth generation of political king is in place, and the 70th religious king also is in place in Bhutan. Day 4 started with, we are now reached Punakha at night, and in the morning we started with a trek, 45 minutes hike I would say, to Kamsum Yuli Namgyal Choten. It's a 45-minute hike to the temple, and then reaching there was not very difficult, and it's a beautiful place at the height, where again we had heard about a lot of stories about Buddha narrated by our guide. Post that, we went for a very interesting and one of the most awaited activity, whitewater rafting on the Mother River. There are two rivers, the Father River, there's a Mother River. So we went for the rafting, and it was so beautiful, and the river was not very turbulent. We enjoyed, that was my first rafting, so I enjoyed the rafting a lot. Post that, one of the highlights of the trip is a visit to Punakha Dzong. Punakha Dzong is celebrated as Bhutan's oldest and the largest and the most striking fortified monasteries, and it holds a special place, a sacred place in the heart of all Bhutanese. A royal wedding takes place there in the Punakha Dzong, and also the mask festival, yearly mask festival dance takes place there, and a lot of big events happening, religious, political, also happens in Punakha Dzong, and it lived up to the expectation. It was a beautiful gigantic statue of Buddha, and the arrangement of the Dzong was so beautiful. And during the spring, the lilac jacaranda trees are in full bloom, and it is one of the most beautiful sights and the most picturesque sight, most photographed sights also in Bhutan. So it was in 2008 that these Dzong was rebuilt, because there was some fire, etc., which that needed repair, but it's now in full glory and it's a must see. There are 54 pillars in the assembly hall and exceptional carvings, so pretty, and we had a time to sit and meditate as well for some time before we ended our day. So here is another tip. Like the Eiffel Tower or Statue of Liberty, the tiger's nest is one of, if not the defining images of its home nation, Bhutan. For me, it was one of the places why I went to Bhutan. It took me 5 hours to climb, with of course some break, and we came down in say 3.5 hours. I found after the trek is over, we started early morning, 6 o'clock, and after the trek was over, I found the climbing down part more trickier than the climbing up part. But yes, you require to be fit to climb it, but mental fitness is more required than the physical fitness. And in our group, we had 60 plus women, 65, 67-year-old women who made it to the top of Tiger's Nest, and that was such a beautiful experience for all of us. So its height is about 3,000 meters above the Paro Valley, and it's actually a monastery built up in 17th century. And although we call it Tiger's Nest in English, it actually translates to Tiger's Lair because of some legendary story which beautifully explains the whole area, the story, the myth, the legend, and it was worth the climb. I would request everyone, whatever you do in Bhutan, you must not leave without doing or without climbing to Tiger's Nest. With this, we come to an end of my Bhutan trip with 16 women, and as I was ending my trip, I met a wonderful Bhutanese girl, a young girl whom I chatted with in the airport. And you know what? She gifted me a tiny laughing Buddha from the airport to take as a memento from the love of Bhutan to India. And it was such a beautiful gesture, made my whole trip so much more precious and valuable. Thank you.